Who must you become for 2025 to be different from every year that came before? I've been thinking about this question a lot, especially this last couple of days. And I ask you this question, not as someone who reads about transformation, but as someone who has lived it intentionally, even when it was very painful. I have shared something very personal with you before, that in 2014, I stood outside a clinic in Nairobi, having just been fired. At that moment, I had a choice to keep drifting, trying different options and specialties and mark timing, or to pour everything into utilizing my most powerful skill, my most powerful tool. The fact that I had really invested time to become a doctor. I had the option to just keep mark timing or become who I needed to be. I was stuck because of who I was being. If I was going to get out of that environment, I needed to become who I needed to be to overcome the environment. I still fumbled, but I chose to pursue a pathway that wasn't necessarily easy. Breaking away from what you are used to can be romanticized as this exciting thing that you do. You wake up one morning and you jump in and you do it. It can be very scary and it can be very painful. In fact, you can feel stupid. You are following a pathway that is not proven, but it's because you are becoming something that you cannot prove now. Therefore, the only way to move is to hold the vision of who you want to become and walk through a path, even if it's unproven, knowing that what you pursue requires that you live where you are. And sometimes the path to who you need to become, you have never trodden it. You've never walked that pathway. So in 2014, I chose to stop spreading myself thin and focus on my most powerful skill, medicine. More specifically, I chose to become the one thing I always wanted to become, a cardiologist. Not because it was an easy path, but because it was necessary. This was a vision that was birthed in me long before I even knew what medicine was. I am that little boy who took a mole, if you know what the mole, I don't know what you call the moles in your vernacular, and dissected it to see what the heart looks like. Now, if I don't want that to freak you out, but that tells you how far back that vision had been in my heart. It wasn't going to be easy for me to get there. But I chose to stay on the pathway because pursuing that vision would demand my next level self to emerge. I don't know what it's going to take for your next level self to emerge. In my own journey, here is what I have learned. Your breakthrough isn't waiting for perfect conditions. Your breakthrough isn't waiting for perfect conditions. It's waiting for you to become the person who can create the conditions necessary. When you look around you, I promise you, you find people full of dreams, but waiting for their someday. Seeking the right time, searching for the right resources, hoping for the right opportunities. But here is the truth I have discovered in my own life. Waiting does not create transformation. Becoming does. Who must you become? Who must you become for 2025 to be different? And this isn't just a question. This is an invitation to step into your power, to stop hiding behind hesitation and avoidance and procrastination, and start building evidence towards the journey that you have to walk to become who you have to become for 2025 to become what you want it to be. When I decided in 2014 to stop dabbling with all the other pathways, you would hope that in 2, 3, 4, 5 years, I would already be a cardiologist. But it took me 4 years to break free from the inertia and build sufficient foundation for this pathway to become a reality. 2014, I decided that finally this is the pathway I will pursue. But it is July 2018 was the first day I walked into a medicine class to start the pathway of specializing as a medical resident and then eventually a cardiology fellow and eventually become a cardiologist. I had to become a totally different person in those initial 4 years, leave alone during residency and fellowship. When I made the decision, everything changed. Not because the path got easier, but because I got stronger, I got focused, I got consistent. I was driven by a necessity that required a higher version, a next level version of me to emerge. Each day became a clear choice. Would I act like the person I was comfortable being stuck, dabbling, and spreading myself thin? Or would I become the person I needed to become? The person who would actually make it possible for me to walk that pathway. I want you to think about this one. The distance between where you stand and where you want to be isn't measured in miles. It's measured in moments. Moments when you choose to become more than you've been. Moments when you choose the tougher, harder, scary next level over the previous familiar current self. The distance between where you are and where you are going is not measured in miles. It's measured in moments, moments of decision, moments of focus, moments of clarity, moments of deciding that this is the year, this is the time, and I am ready. What is this year for? What is it time for? And what are you ready for? Let me be as direct as I can be. 2025 will be different only if you become different. Not by accident, not by wishing, but by deliberate daily decisions that prove who you are becoming. Through my work with thousands of people in small groups and large groups, I have noticed something profound, almost scary. Those who break through aren't always the most talented. They are the ones who decide that this year, this time, things must be different. How I show up must be different. How I view myself must be different. How I prioritize must be different. How I respond to what happens to me must be different. In this year 2025, who you commit to become, it determines everything else. The people who break through are the people who commit to becoming their next level self. Not just dreaming, not just wishing, not just waiting, but actually walking the current step with the mindset of their next level self. Think about your biggest goal for 2025. And I wish you could see it as clearly as possible in all its grandeur and fulfillment. And then ask yourself, who do you need to become to make that goal not just possible, but inevitable? Who do you need to become to make that goal not just a possibility, but an inevitability? Because once you become a knife, cutting becomes inevitable. Once you become a ship, sailing becomes inevitable. Once you become a bird, flying becomes inevitable. Once you become a business person, growing your income becomes inevitable. Having impact becomes inevitable. What version of you needs to show up every single day in 2025 to make your goal, your desire, your dream an inevitability, not just a possibility? This choice, this journey, this mindset isn't about perfection. It's about progression. It's about building daily evidence that proves that you are becoming that person who can achieve that goal, that person who can paint that reality, that person who can take it from possibility to inevitability. During my journey from dabbling back into medicine, deep into cardiology, I remember the day in September 2018 when I wrote down the question. I had just seen a patient with heart failure in a hospital in Kansas where I was doing my residency, and I wrote down the question, what would a cardiologist do right now? What would a cardiologist do right now? What would a cardiologist do right now? I can't respond to any texts. I've seen a couple of messages coming to me. I can't respond to any texts. I shouldn't even have to say that. What would a cardiologist do right now? Who is the person that can fulfill the dream you have? And what would that person do right now? That is your pathway to becoming that person. Not by waiting to become that person, but by doing what that person would do right now. As we enter into the final push, I am not asking you to transform overnight. You can't transform overnight. I am asking you to make one decision today. I'm asking you to make one decision today. Will you keep being who you've always been? Or will you start becoming who you need to be? Will you keep being who you've always been, or will you start creating evidence of you becoming who you need to be? Your next level is calling. Your next level is calling. Your next level is always waiting. And it's not asking if you are ready. Your next level is not asking if you are ready. It is asking if you are willing. It's asking if you are willing to become. Your next level is asking if you are willing to become who you need to be. Your next level is asking not if you are ready, but whether you are willing. If you went to a mirror right now, the mirror won't lie to you. You look into the mirror and who you see there is who you are. But who you see there is not all you are. Who you see is just who you have chosen or somebody chose for you to be. The beauty is that you can choose different. You can choose next. You can choose higher. You can choose wider. You can choose deeper. The mirror doesn't lie. Also, time doesn't lie. Time doesn't lie. Another year will pass, whether you grow into your next level or not, whether you transform or not. Another year is going to pass. The only question is, after this year is passed, who will you have become? And who will you become in the process of the year passing? Listen closely. Your breakthrough begins with a decision. It doesn't begin with resources. It doesn't begin with luck. It doesn't begin with favor. It begins with a decision. A moment when you say, enough. Enough to the old ways, enough to business studies. In some other environments, people call it bullshit, but here we call it business studies. Enough. You say enough to the old ways and say yes to the next level. Yes to becoming more. Yes to creating something new. I want us to transition at this point to actually do some work. That is, if you are willing to become who you need to be to make 2025 what you need it to be. And if you are ready to do some work, I want you to go to the chat box. Go to the chat box and write these words. And maybe start by saying them to yourself. 2025 is my year of becoming. Today, I choose to rise. 2025 is my year of becoming. Today, I choose to rise. Say it to yourself. I want you to do something. If you can see me, take your hands like this. Put them behind your ears and fold your ears to the front like this. You will hear yourself. And I want you to say those words so that you can hear you. 2025 is my year of becoming. Today, I choose to rise. I need you to say it with conviction. Say it and hear it in your own voice. 2025 is my year of becoming. Today, not tomorrow. Today, I choose to rise. Go to the chat box and type it. Let the movement of your fingers act like a milestone. 2025 is my year of becoming. Today, I choose to rise. Don't just type it with a heartfelt attitude. Not because typing makes it true, but because declaring it publicly is your first piece of evidence, your first piece of becoming, your first piece of expressing the willingness to break away from what has been to what can be. 2025 is not just another year. This can be your year of becoming. if you are willing, if you're willing to become, if you are willing to become who you need to be to make 2025 what you want it to be.